Well, good afternoon. My name is Christina Reeg Bayne. I can't see all of you. And I'm one of the first female business owners on Main Street in Placerville. I'll tell you about that later. First, I want to start by telling you my early life. I was born at Chili Bar. That's the place where the road to Georgetown crosses the American River. My father, Leonard Reeg, he owned the Chili Bar toll road and bridge. Now in those days, travelers had to pay a toll to use the roads around here. There was a lot of money to be made. There was freight coming through Placerville, so there was a lot of money to be made on that freight, and they were traveling to the silver mines in Nevada. Now the Lake Tahoe Wagon Road, which today is called Highway 50, it had 5 different tolling stations until about 1886, when Dorado County decided to make it a public road, and eventually it became California's first state highway. Now Father, he bought some land in town when I was about 10, and we moved here shortly after. In time, I became a teacher, and I taught students as far away as Greenville, which is west of Georgetown. I suppose you could say I thought teaching was my life's work until I met the love of my life, George H. Duffy, and we married. We got married in November 1903. It's a very small ceremony, attended by just our family and a few close friends. But I wore a white gown of silk and I carried pink carnations. After our wedding breakfast, we boarded a train to celebrate our honeymoon in San Francisco. Now, the Duffys, they're one of the original pioneering families. Before I married George, he was homesteading 160 acres of land near Iron Mountain. That's just north of the Mormon Immigrant Trail. He was raising cattle and cutting timber. You know, our happiness was short-lived because soon after, George started feeling pains in his stomach. And those pains were caused by his appendix. And in January of 1912, he was taken to the Placerville Sanatorium, where he fought off death for 5 days and nights. See, no surgeon, the 3 doctors, they couldn't save him. And we only had 9 short years together. But the real tragedy was that he never got to see our son or hold him. See, I was with child when he died. So with the baby on the way, my parents were gone. I had to do something to support us. So I decided to buy a business down on Main Street in Placerville, right behind the bell tower. It sold stationery and newspapers. It was called the Placerville News Company. Have you heard of that? Well, my descendants still run it today. They're sitting right here, and it's been over 100 years. I moved into a small apartment over the store and gave birth to George. I named him after his father, of course, later that year. Well, in time, I decided I was going to buy that whole building, and that included the Pacific Telephone and Telegraph Company from a man named Shelley Inch in 1923. That structure is still called the Inch Building today. Now, over time, George and I twice expanded that store, once out into the west to include that space that was the telephone company, and then into a small room into the back. I understand the store is similar to what it was back then, although I'm hoping that the merchandise has changed over time. If you walk into the Placerville News Company today, you'll be treading on those same boards that were laid down with the same square nails during the time of the gold rush. I remember walking around that store and those floorboards creaking. I bet they still do today. They do. Now you may be wondering why the name Bayne is on my plaque. Well, that's because I did remarry. I married John Bayne. He was a widow from Coloma, but he died young, and he was buried near his first wife, Nora, in Coloma. I think it's okay because I think he knew I'd want to be here with George for all eternity when I died in 1956. Well, if you go into the Placerville News Company today to buy candy or a newspaper or a magazine or a book or art supplies, would you do me a favor and say hi to my granddaughter Mary, or my great-grandson Jeff, or his sister Chris, or my great-great-granddaughter Liliana if you go.